Hey, this is Connor with Biker's Edge. Today we are here in Grafton, Utah, riding probably one of the coolest trails in the entire state. The whole point of this video is we're doing a big showdown between the Yeti SB160 and the Santa Cruz Megatower, two of the hottest, coolest enduro bikes on the market. I don't think I have ever seen water up here. Got a ton of rain. Things get pretty fun and zesty here. Whew. All right, coming up to this really cool cheese grater. He's just eating it right up. Dropping in on bike. Oh, it's super windy. Ah! Dropping in on bike number 2. Got the SB160. I screwed that corner up again. Just finished up. We did 2 laps down that somewhere and did a Megatower lap, an SB160 lap. I'm gonna go back, check the times, and we're gonna dive into which bike is gonna be best for you. Okay, so before we dive into the race results, let's talk about some of the strengths and weaknesses of each of these bikes. Doing that back-to-back testing in some pretty challenging terrain was a great way to split the hairs between them, and that's exactly what we're doing. On paper, these two bikes are very similar. They have very similar travel numbers, wheel sizes, intended applications, component builds, geometry. Across the board, they're very similar bikes. The biggest difference lies in the suspension design. They each have a very unique feel out on the trail. Don't worry, we'll get into it. All right, so jumping in with the climbing. Both of these bikes are what I would categorize as good climbers for the enduro category. They're both efficient enough and quick enough while offering a ton of traction for those steep, loose, wet, slippery, rooty, rocky climbs. In fact, when I first reviewed the Santa Cruz Megatower, I was completely blown away at how steep I could climb on that bike. It's not the most efficient bike, but because of the body position and the traction, I was able to climb some really steep stuff and actually clean some climbs that I've never been able to clean before. And it's all because that bike finds the oh so small sweet spot between traction and efficiency. Now coming to the SB160, that bike shifts just a little bit more towards the efficiency side of things. It is a little bit quicker on the pedals. It does hold you up just a little bit better. It just has a little bit more zip and acceleration to it. If you were to race these two bikes on like a mellow grade fire road, the Yeti's going to win all day. And it does all of that without giving up too much traction. It still is very glued to the ground when it comes to those steep, loose, nasty climbs. So one thing the Yeti has going for it on the climbs is the front end is significantly lower. That stack height is significantly lower. So while the bikes are within 0.2 of a degree of each other on that head tube angle, the body position feels quite a bit different, where your weight does feel more over the front wheel on the Yeti, just because that lower stack height is going to pull you further forward and down over that front wheel. That's going to help keep the front wheel down and keep some weight over it, and it's also going to help you control it just a little bit easier. I have to think that is what makes the Yeti a little bit easier to handle and a little bit easier to maneuver on the climbs. So while I did not do a timed test on the climbs for a couple of reasons, but the biggest one being I can't climb Crybaby Hill multiple times in one day. I just don't have that kind of superhuman freak fitness. I have ridden both of these bikes enough though to give them a fair assessment on climbing. So if you're looking for the fastest, most energetic climber of the two, it's going to be the SB160. Although the Megatower is probably a little bit better when it comes to really loose, steep, tough climbs, just because it offers a bit more traction. Either way, they're both actually really good climbers for the enduro category. They won't quite hang with your Bay Rayon and other similar bikes, but they're far from the slowest. So knowing these two bikes have tons of travel, slack geo, this is why you're here. downhill. So while both of them are ultra capable descenders, they are a little bit different in how they tackle rough, nasty terrain. So let's start with that suspension feel. The Santa Cruz Megatower has 165 millimeters of lower link VPP travel. It's far more plush and forgiving than the Yeti Switch Infinity. Now don't take that to mean it's simply better. Better is subject to opinion. What's better for me and you might not be better for, say, Richie Rude. The Megatower has a deeper, softer, more comfortable ride quality to it. It smooths out the rough stuff better, makes bumps disappear with ease. The bike stayed calmer underneath me on the big hits, the compressions, the rough bits of trail. Without spilling the beans, that doesn't necessarily mean it's faster on rough, nasty trails. Probably just spilled the beans there. The SB160 wasn't quite as calm and composed on our rough test descent. It did skip around just a little bit more, and it required me to ride it just a little bit stronger. I had to be a little more forceful with how I rode that bike. That said, the supportive suspension platform lends itself to generating quite a bit of speed through pumping the terrain, and it holds its momentum very, very well. It also gives you a better platform for getting back on the pedals, say out of a corner, or say when you screwed up and slowed down, you can get back up speed just a little bit quicker. So the Megatower's soft, plush, comfortable suspension quality not only made it for a more comfortable ride, it was also a little more playful and easier to get off of the ground. It felt quite a bit easier to bunny hop and unweight. This could also come down to the stack height. I've noticed bikes with a lower front end take a little bit more effort to get off of the ground. Simply could be that you have to pull your weight further back because the front end's lower, or there could be something else at play. Either way, the Megatower was quite a bit more poppy than the SB160. The Yeti's geometry and suspension feel, though, did give the bike very, very good handling characteristics. It was quite apparent how much easier the Yeti is to maneuver, not only on high speed sections, but the slow, awkward tech as well. It's easier to initiate a corner and carve a clean arc through it. Again, I'd imagine a lot of this comes down to stack height, as most of the other geometry is very similar. The steering on the SB160 just felt quite a bit more precise, and I think it's that lower front end and subsequent forward body position that kind of puts you in the attack zone. And you go into that attack zone whether you like it or not. And I would argue that's where you should always be riding a bike if you're trying to ride aggressive, rough terrain. You should be up and over the front of the bike. But there is something to be said about the comfort of being able to just hang back just a little bit, even if that's not the best technique. So maybe the Yeti just forces you into good technique, whether you like it or not. Overall, on the descents, both bikes are very, very good. In fact, they both just ate up that rough terrain like it was nothing. The Megatower was a bit more comfortable, was a bit more playful. The Yeti felt faster. We'll see if that's the case, but it definitely felt faster, and it had better handling characteristics. It was a little easier to corner and maneuver. Now, if we're just talking a couple other pros and cons, the Santa Cruz Megatower does come with internal frame storage, while this guy requires a bike purse. All right, so before we talk about race results, let's talk about which bike's better for you. If you want burly, confident, comfortable, plush, one of the deepest feeling bikes you've ever ridden, the Santa Cruz Megatower is going to be your best bet. With its tall front end and just super comfortable suspension, you'll be plowing through rocks like they aren't even there. It's also the more playful, jibby bike of the two, so if you like that style of riding, you might lean a bit more towards the Megatower. If you want a little bit more well-rounded ride, say you want to climb a little bit better, you want better handling characteristics, and probably just want a faster bike overall, you're gonna want that SB160. It just happens to be faster than a bat out of hell. It also has some really good handling characteristics for a big bike. Either way, they're both big, confident, burly descenders. So if that's what you want, you'd be happy with either one. Let's kick back, watch some race runs. Oh, it's super windy. Jumping in bike number 2. SB160. I screwed that corner up again. At least it'll be a fair fight between the two bikes now. Gotta focus here. promised, we've got some race results for you. So here's all the pseudoscience. You could probably already guess what happened here. The Yeti was faster by about 3.21 seconds over a 1 minute 15-second time section. That comes out to about 4% faster. Can't really say I'm all that surprised given the two brands' pedigrees. So while the Megatower suspension felt more plush, more comfortable, and deeper, the Yeti's suspension worked to generate and maintain speed very well. Just because it's not as plush doesn't mean it's not working to do its job. It apparently works very well. So the Megatower is a little bit more fun, a little bit more comfortable, rides a little bit bigger and deeper. The Yeti is just a little bit faster. And there is something to be said about going really fast in a place where you shouldn't be going really fast. That's fun in its own right. All right, that's going to do it for the SB160 versus Megatower showdown. Thanks for sticking around. If there are any other showdowns you want to see, drop a comment below, and we'll see you next time.